Welcome to Chill Deal Trades. Today we're focusing on technical analysis of my 5 stocks for the week to pay attention to. Alibaba, Elf Beauty, Uber, Nike, and AMD. So let's run into things quickly. If you're curious who I am, Chill Deal Trades. I've been investing for 12 years and I started learning technical analysis right when I started. So I've been doing this for a hot minute. Let's hop into Alibaba. Alibaba's been having some great momentum lately. I've been following this stock for a while. I've scalped probably about 50% or swing trade about 2 50% increases on this stock. But the really big positive here is this stock was kind of trading in this below 80 range from November all the way to August. So, a little bit less than a year, and we're finally out of it. More importantly, the stock bumped out of it with this first run up, came back down and tested. This is where I bought back in. I said, if it holds 80, then this is going to be another buy opportunity. It held 80 and now we're hitting momentum. My assumption is into earnings. Some really important notes. One thing, big volume recently. We need the high volume to continue. We have to get a pullback day soon, but we might still have maybe 1 or 2 days left. But really, we want to look for a pullback. We just broke out of 100, consolidated a little bit. So let me go back to the daily. So we consolidated around 100, which was really bullish, and then we gapped, and now we're higher up. So we want to see some kind of pullback. Maybe actually, move my camera, maybe a pullback actually to like the 107 mark. So this might break out a bit more, maybe up to 115, pullback maybe to 107. We're kind of in this no man's land. Like if I go back to the weekly, you'll see like there's this big range here with these different pivot points, but we're kind of trapped here. So I would say either running back up to past resistance into earnings, and we'll see what happens at earnings, but you're kind of in no man's land. So I wouldn't suggest necessarily buying here. It's kind of a vulnerable place to buy. You need to see where price action's going next. We're above the 200, which is important, but we're going to need to come back and test that at some point back at 105. Whenever you have a breakout, it typically comes back and tests it. We kind of saw that at 110, but I want if this is like a macro long-term change for Alibaba, we need to come back and test that 200 and say, okay, I'm changing. I'm no longer a beat down stock. My time is now. So I am bullish actually this year on Alibaba. I think that the dollar is actually going to weaken this year, which will put positive pressure on emerging markets. And so honestly, in the long term, I do have like 150-ish price target on this. I think the stock can get up to around the 150s, maybe the 170s. But right now, you're a little vulnerable before earnings. We don't know if they're going to crush it or have more negativity. 2 important things to know about China. One is they're stimulating the economy, but consumers are having a hard time. So we don't know how impactful that stimulus is going to be yet, but we know when the government kind of prints money, has interest rates low, that does cause booms. So the market might be pricing in what's coming future, which is a boom. Next off, Elf Beauty. We know this one because it sold off large recently, all the way down to 63 bucks. So when it sold off, we went into this really important zone, which I'll call about 58 to 67. We're now, I think, we're above 67 now, actually. The price went up to $72. So we have this really important part around 75 bucks. You can kind of see, like, you always want to look, let me do a little teaching here. You always want to see these kind of points here that are important for a stock to either break out of or hold on. And we just broke out of this big consolidation. So now we need follow through. Like, is a stock going to follow through? Can it break maybe a little bit higher, come back and test 74? We need it to prove that I'm ready to go higher. On the technicals, we are really oversold, so I could see some more positive momentum for ELF. Whenever a stock, RSI, we're at like 18. That is crazy low. It's going to need to recover some because technically it's just too oversold. But I personally think that ELF as a company has to go through kind of a reevaluation cycle. Beauty is slowing down drastically. ELF has always been a good grower here. You can look at other people's videos, quarters and quarters of positive growth. But with with makeup and skincare honestly slowing down, I think ELF's PE is going to have to come back down to earth a little bit. We see other kind of skincare and these kind of companies trade at a much lower multiple. And so is ELF still worth, a 30-40% premium on a PE ratio? That's what I'm not sure about. So honestly, my ideal scenario for ELF is that we break above, maybe we go back above 76, but I want to see a bit of this. I want to see some consolidation. I want the big boys to come in here, say this stock sold off too much, it'll start consolidating, and that's going to tell us, okay, this is going through a revaluation cycle. Long term is bullish. Next quarter, hopefully we see health and some recovery in the stock. But the earnings honestly was not that exciting for me. But technically, we are still pretty oversold. And so we need to see some technical recovery, which might push the price up a little bit more. Price levels to kind of keep an eye on, my personal opinions about the company. Next one is Uber. Okay, so Uber, I'm super bullish on Uber long term. Everyone's scared that other companies are like, Tesla Automation or Waymo. Guys, it doesn't matter. Uber is the gateway to rideshare, and so everybody's going to have to work with them. I'm going to make a video in the next couple of days detailing out the kind of the macro picture of Uber, but I'm super bullish, and I'll back it up with Bill Ackman just came out and said he built a $2 billion position recently, and so this stock has been on a tear. I bought it back here around 63 bucks, I think, or no, actually 60 bucks on this dip. And I bought it there because I saw it at this big support zone. Again, teaching moment. When you see big support in the past, this is a bunch of people who bought. And if they don't sell, that means they're going to hold still. And so knowing that this came back and tested price from 2021, guys, came back and tested prices from 2021. That is the most bullish thing ever. Broke out of that, and now we're seeing crazy uptrend. Another important teaching moment, you always have these kind of price ranges of trading. And so historically what we saw is it was trading this range, broke out, came back into the range, right? And then we saw it hit the bottom of the range, and now it's breaking out. Now we need to see, is a stock going to now create a new range of trading, or was this overhyped news because of Bill Ackman and we come back down into the range and trade up and down? I personally don't like when stocks get too you want about a 45% trading range. That is really healthy. When a stock starts getting 60% higher, kind of like Alibaba was, that's when I'm holding off. And so we'll see if it tests there and starts a new uptrend. To give you context what a new uptrend could look like, we could start to see a little bit higher range, which that's okay. I'm not mad at that. But honestly, at this stock, we're still in a good place on RSI. Health still around 60. But if it runs a little bit more, maybe taps 81, I want to come back down and test this range. This range is so important. What does it do here, right? Like, that's what we need to see. But long term, I'm bullish. Obviously, we have huge resistance at this double top. If it can break there, then this stock is going 100, long term, 125, 150. This stock will continue to go higher if we see a strong break and a retest of that. So this is the only kind of top end price that we need to look out for, which is around that 82 to call it 86 range, which is on the top side, that double top. Again, it has to break that and test it to see we're in a new bull run for Uber or not. Otherwise, we have the 20 SMA around $70. I don't think it's going to come back there, but we will start to see this SMA kind of continue upwards. So if it does, we do have strong support around $73. Kind of 73 to 75 range. I don't mind it coming back and testing there. Come back, test that, and then break out again. I'm good with that. Again, Uber's long-term hold. No big concerns with the stock over the long term. It's a winner. Next stock, Nike. I'm also a huge Nike long-term bull. Huge bull here. So looking at the weekly start to start out, we're kind of in a descending triangle-ish pattern. What I like to see is when, where did my things go? Anyway, you like to see of when a stock starts to go down to the bottom of this triangle, That's honestly really bullish for me. And what I want to see is as it gets closer to this little corner, what that's doing is it's building up positive momentum. If it can hold this and then break above and go sideways for a while, that makes me feel really bullish on this stock in the long term. The thing with Nike is as soon as we thought we found a sideways trading range, what ended up happening is that didn't happen and it went lower. It just broke below 70. We do not like that. If we look at the long term, you'll see here, $64 is our next support if it breaks back below 68. I don't love that, but we do have huge support between 68 and 65, which is a huge positive. More in the short term, where we've been running into issues is every time it tests this kind of 20-day SMA, it hits it and it goes back down. And so again, I want to see it go sideways. I want to see it to break out of this downwards triangle. And I want to see above the 20. If we can see that on the weekly, I would say Nike is finding a bottom. If not, then we're going to continue to consolidate. We need to make sure it stays above 68. For some reason, on Friday, it broke below 70, and now it's back above. No idea why, but we need to keep track of this because if it breaks below 68, do not buy yet. The next big support is not till around 64. But we are big Nike bulls. Think about Nike stock. Name 5 brands you can ask anybody about and what they'll know. I guarantee you that Nike is one of those stocks. And that's important. It takes years and years and years to build up a brand name, and Nike has done that. And so in the long term, we're super bullish, but technically we still see not a lot of great, like big red days on these candles. But we do need to start seeing some sideways consolidation to say that the bottom is in, which I have not been convinced yet. But it is a long-term hold, guys. Next stock, AMD. I'm also a big long AMD. People think that it's either NVIDIA or AMD the winner. There can be 2 winners, guys. This is not ride sharing, right? This is not Uber and Lyft. This market is so big. We are in a super cycle. And in super cycles, I believe everybody wins. Where AMD has not done great is they've lost the confidence of retail investors and institutions and analysts. They said over and over again, okay, I have a longer term video on this, go to my channel and watch it, but we're going to hit these numbers, and they haven't. I do believe that they are learning that they can no longer do that, and I do believe that they're going to get their stuff together. But right now, AMD is not in a great place technically. Like, RSI is not oversold. It's hovering around 40. We don't like that, especially when a stock's in a downturn. That typically means more downside. But kind of like Nike, we're in this downwards triangle kind of formation. So very similarly, like, I want to see this find a base. I want to see it break out. And I would love for it to get back above 112. 110 to 112 and kind of come sideways here. And we just want to see, honestly, nobody loves this, but we want to see sideways action for a couple months. We need Nike to prove to us that they are no longer going down and that the stock has found a base. Another Bill Ackman stock. This is a really long-term play, guys. This is not a short-term play. This is like a multi-year hold, assuming that Nike is being super undervalued because they lost their way for a bit. Again, important prices, 112. Pay attention to that number. Again, and then we really have a high, like the next important range is around $122, which we couldn't break above before, right? Like we broke below it, tried to break above, failed on the trend line, came back down to the next support zone, couldn't break the trend line, broke below the next support, can't get above the trend line. So we really need to see the stock break above the trend line, or we're just continuing the same pattern over and over. We need to see some consolidation. But again, I'm super bullish long term. I'm building a long-term large position in my portfolio. This is not advice, so you can do what you want, but this is a stock we need to see some consolidation and support start to happen. Well, that's Chill Deal Trades. Long-ass video at 15 minutes, but come back for more. Let me know what stocks you want me to highlight in the next video. Till next time, appreciate you watching the video.